Hey guys, Anthony Jones here, and this is chapter 2, where I'll take the transom that I built in chapter 1 and I'll seal it in fiberglass resin and then permanently mount it into the boat. Thanks so much for joining me. Okay, got a little workstation set up here in the garage. All this is sanded smooth. Just wanted to make a quick note, the screws are still exposed on the back side, but that's okay because you're never going to see that. The only reason I filled these was for aesthetic purposes. Now it's time to do the fiberglass resin. I'm going to show you how to get started on that. Okay, we're going to do the fiberglass resin. It's very similar to the Bondo. You take the resin, it comes with some hardener. You add the hardener to activate it. There's instructions on the back that show you how to do this. Guys, if you've never seen this before or you haven't seen my in-depth video, I did a video on fiberglass resin, how to seal your hatches with it. I'm going to leave that card up in the top right corner if you want to go ahead and check that out. I'm not going to get into crazy detail. That video is very detailed. All I'm doing here is I'm eyeballing it, I'm pouring some, and the more hardener you add, the quicker it's going to harden. This stuff's going to go down quick, so I'm going to mix it up. Just got me a little El Cheapo brush here, and we're going to get started. The purpose of me coating the transom in fiberglass resin is actually to make it waterproof. Guys, if you'll check out that video, if you hadn't seen it, check it out. I actually build a part and do a demo where I stick it in water overnight in a cooler full of water, and it's 100% impermeable. So I've demonstrated in the past how this works on hatches and boat parts in sealing the wood and making it waterproof. Okay, that is it for now. I'm going to let it sit up and cure. Again, the more hardener you use, the quicker it will cure. You want to mix a ratio that gives you enough time to work with it and get it applied without it hardening or setting up on you. And then also, guys, if you can kind of see, I'm not going too thick. I'm just giving it a nice glass sheen. I'm letting the wood absorb it, but if you go overboard on it, then you'll have a really thick layer of fiberglass resin that is prone to crack over time. So just a light layer, enough to seal it. That's what I'm doing. The front is all cured up, and then what'll happen is when it cures, it'll kind of have that waxy look to it. If you could see that. Now I'm going to flip it over and do the back. Okay, the back is all done. You can see that it's all hardened. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly sand the front and the back with 120. And what I'm going to do is just blast it with the power sander. And there's a few reasons real quick why I'm going to sand it. Number one, this is going to get painted. This is very, I don't know if you can see that, guys. That's very waxy. Okay, paint won't stick to that very well. All right, so just like prepping your boat for paint, you got to sand this to prep it for paint. This will be painted eventually. Okay, also on the back side, I'm gonna lightly sand it. And reason being there is I'm gonna glue it to the aluminum in the transom. When I mount it in there, I'm gonna bolt it, screw it, and glue it. And so I wanna make sure the glue has something to grip to on this back side as well. I'll sand it up, front and back. And I'm gonna get ready to bolt it in the boat, but before I do that, I've got to sand all of this original aluminum and clean it up really nicely because I'm going to put some adhesive or some glue in here. Okay, all sanded and cleaned up, and that is as far as I'm gonna go with it, guys. That's more than enough surface area to make contact with that wood, and it's bent to Hades and back. I'll just put it that way. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm going to use this Gorilla Ultimate Construction Adhesive just because I've got an excess of this and I just want something to glue it. It's going to be bolted in with a lot of bolts. Maybe not short term. I'm still debating how many bolts I'm going to put in, because I've got to figure out a lot of things on the back with where I'm going to mount some different things, and I want to make sure I don't get ahead of myself by putting a million bolts into this transom that are just going to be in the way later. Hope that makes sense. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get this bolted in, at least with a few bolts bolted and glued. Okay, because this bottom is not sticking, it's bowed out, so it's not sticking to that wood I just installed. Everything's tight on the top. I'm going to measure out some spots and put a couple screws into place just to hold it while this glue sets up. And long term, what I'll probably do is pull those screws, drill all the way through, and plug a bolt in. But for right now, I just need to get this metal tight to that wood I just installed, so everything glues and actually holds, because right now there's air in between this lower section, so I need to try to tighten that up somehow. I found center here. I went 7 inches up. I think I'm gonna go 7 inches over and 7 inches over. That way that leaves me a lot of room for over here to mount things and over here to mount things. Guys, we're gonna do the wheels and possibly some other things in the rear of this, so I just want to make sure whatever I do is the bare minimum right now, just to get this thing sunk in before all this glue sets up. Okay, the sun is set on me, but it is all clamped up as good as I can get it, and then as flat as I can get it. And I've got those screws in place holding the aluminum to the wood to where it is nice and tight for that glue to set up and cure. And I'm gonna call it a night on that note. Okay, glue is all cured and I've removed the clamps, and this thing turned out really, really sweet. This thing is solid. And on another note, guys, I dropped my phone, broke the screen, had to get a new phone, and it does these awesome wide angle shots. Okay, really quickly, just a note, this no longer bubbles, okay? This is tight. There's no more flex. Those screws were able to hold this into place while that glue cured. Okay, all I did there was take a 7/32, a brand new random Hitachi bit, and drill my pilot holes through, and then I came back with a duller 1/4 inch to drill through, but a 1/4 inch would have done it if I would have had a nice sharp bit. Let's talk about these holes and what I'm going to do now that they're all drilled out. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the bolt through. Okay, we're going to run these 1/4 inch 20 by #2 bolts. Okay, stainless. Got some matching lock nuts, stainless, and then I got the washers, but I think I'm only going to use the washer on the inside, considering that's compressing against the resin coated wood. I'm not going to run the washer on the outside because that's pretty solid, and I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of flex or cushion when that goes in. And then I guess the determining factor for me there was none of the stuff on the Top Gun John boat was ran that way, and it's all fine. If you see, I mean, all the stuff all through the back, there's no washers. The bolts just go through, and that's how they had it from the factory. So I'm just gonna make sure in these holes I use a lot of this good old 3M 5200. I got the fast cure, but that is what we're using. All right, guys, I took some of that sealant and I put it inside the hole, and I took some and I wiped it around the head of this bolt. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert it. I don't know how well this is going to work out when I do that. And then I'm going to wipe off the excess and then tighten the bolt on the inside. One down. Got 2 more to go for now. But that's what we're aiming for. Nice and tight and sealed up good. Okay, now that I've got these 3 in the center, I'm going to turn my attention to doing the ones on the side brackets. Okay, now that I've got it all bolted in on both sides as far as the brackets and then in the center, and it's pretty permanent. Again, I'm going to add a couple more bolts when I get the parts for the transom. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this excess metal off with an angle grinder, just because I didn't really get it perfect the first time I did it, and I wanted to bolt this in and then have a nice straight edge to cut to. Okay, got it all cleaned up. And then I went ahead and sanded the rear of it just to kind of see where I'm at as far as dents and how smooth and straight it was. And honestly, at this point, I'm pretty happy. Now I'm going to go ahead and start on the lip. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 1 inch by 1 inch, 1/16 angled aluminum, and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to make some notches, and basically I'm going to wrap this thing like so and just contour it around this transom and then attach it. Stay tuned and subscribe to the channel to catch the next video in my step-by-step documentary process of my 12-foot John boat build, where I'll show you how I built the transom cap and the corner braces all out of aluminum and complete the transom build.